Princess Veltira stood before the tall mirror in her chambers and stared at the creature looking back at her. Her silver skin caught the light from the floating orbs above. Her four eyes blinked slowly, one pair after another. The ceremonial dress she wore was made of fabric that shifted colors like oil on water. She looked beautiful. She looked powerful. She looked like a princess of the Silarian Empire should look on her wedding day. But inside, she felt like a prisoner being walked to her cell. The war between the Silarian Empire and the Human Federation had lasted 12 years. Millions had died on both sides. Planets had burned. Fleets had been destroyed. And now, after all that death, the Galactic Council had finally forced both sides to the negotiating table. The peace treaty had been signed 3 months ago. But peace on paper meant nothing without something to bind it together. That something was her. Veltira was the third daughter of Emperor Calvorin. She was not important enough to rule, but important enough to matter. Important enough to be traded away like cargo. Important enough to marry a human and seal the treaty with her body and her future. She had accepted this fate. She was Silarian. Duty came before desire. The needs of the empire came before the wants of one princess. She had told herself these things every day for 3 months. She almost believed them now. A soft shim told her it was time. Veltira took one last look at herself, then turned and walked out to meet her husband. The wedding took place on Concordia Prime, a massive space station that belonged to no species and served as neutral ground for the galaxy's most important negotiation. The ceremony hall was filled with delegates from 100 worlds. Silarians stood on one side, tall and silver-skinned, their 4 eyes watching everything with cold calculation. Humans stood on the other side, smaller and softer, their single pair of eyes somehow more expressive than any Silarian face. Veltira walked down the center aisle alone. Her father had refused to attend. He said he could not watch his daughter be given to animals. Her mother had sent a message wishing her well, but the words had felt empty and formal. Her sisters had not contacted her at all. She was alone. And she would remain alone. Bound to a creature from a species she had been taught to hate since childhood. The human waiting for her at the altar was named Daniel Carter. Veltira studied him as she approached, searching for something to fear or respect. She found neither. He was short, even for a human. His hair was dark brown, cut close to his head. His eyes were a common shade of blue, that held no special light. His body was thin and unremarkable beneath his formal black clothing. He had no claws on his fingers, no fangs in his mouth, no protective scales or hardened skin. He looked like something a Silarian child could break with one hand. This was what the humans had sent to marry a princess of the Empire. This weak, soft, fragile thing. It was almost insulting. Daniel smiled at her as she reached the altar. It was a warm smile, genuine and unguarded. He extended his hand toward her in what she had learned was a human gesture of greeting and connection. Veltira looked at that hand for a long moment. The skin was smooth and pink. She could see the blue lines of vein beneath the surface. Everything about him screamed vulnerability. She took his hand because the treaty required it. His grip was gentle but steady. His skin was warm against her cooler silver fingers. The officiant spoke words that Veltira barely heard. She responded when required. She allowed a ceremonial band to be placed on her wrist. She watched Daniel receive a matching one. And then it was done. They were married. The treaty was sealed. The war was truly over. The reception afterward was long and exhausting. Diplomats from both sides made speeches about peace and unity and hope for the future. Veltira stood beside her new husband and smiled when expected. She said nothing that was not required by protocol. Daniel tried to speak to her several times. He asked if she was tired. He asked if she wanted something to drink. He asked if there was anything he could do to make her more comfortable. Each time, she gave him the shortest answer possible and turned away. She did not want his keenness. She did not want his concern. She wanted nothing from him except distance. Late in the evening, when the reception finally ended, They were escorted to their new quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel that would serve as their home. The ship was called Horizon's Edge, and it was designed to be neutral territory where both species could live and work together. Their quarters were large and well furnished. 2 separate bedrooms connected to a shared common area. Veltira was grateful for that small mercy. She would not have to share a bed with this creature. Daniel stood in the common area, looking around at the unfamiliar space. He seemed uncertain, almost nervous. When he turned to face her, his expression was open and honest. "I know this isn't what you wanted," he said quietly. "I know you didn't choose this. Neither did I. But we're here now, and I think we should try to make the best of it." Veltira regarded him with all 4 of her eyes. He did not flinch from her gaze. Most humans found it unsettling to be watched by 4 eyes at once. But Daniel simply waited for her response. "We are married because our governments required it," she said. "Nothing more. I will fulfill my obligations as the treaty demands. I expect nothing else from you." And he offered nothing else in return. She saw something flicker in his blue eyes. Pain, perhaps. Or disappointment. It was gone before she could identify it. "I understand," he said. "But if you ever change your mind, if you ever want to talk or need anything at all, I'm here." Veltira turned away without responding. She walked into her private bedroom and closed the door behind her. She stood in the darkness for a long time, listening to the soft sounds of her husband moving around in the common area before finally going to his own room. She told herself she felt nothing. She told herself this was simply duty. She told herself the strange tightness in her chest was just exhaustion from a long day. She almost believed it. Outside her window, the stars stretched endless and cold. Somewhere out there, the Silarian Empire continued on without her. Somewhere out there, her family celebrated the peace she had purchased with her freedom. And here, on this ship, in this room, Princess Veltira began her new life as the wife of a human she did not know, did not understand, and refused to see as anything more than a political necessity. She did not know that everything she believed about humans was wrong. She did not know that the quiet man in the next room was something far more dangerous than any Silarian warrior. She did not know that the universe was about to teach her lessons she had never expected to learn. But she would. Soon enough, she would. 3 months passed aboard the Horizon's Edge. Veltira fell into a routine that kept her husband at a careful distance. She attended diplomatic functions at his side because the treaty required it. She shared meals with him in the common area because it was expected. She spoke to him when necessary and no more. Daniel never pushed. He never complained. He simply accepted whatever small interactions she allowed and never asked for more. In some ways, his patience made things worse. It would have been easier to hate him if he had been cruel or demanding. Instead, he was unfailingly kind, and that kindness confused her. She began to watch him. Not because she cared, she told herself, but because she needed to understand this strange creature she had been bound to. Silarian military doctrine emphasized knowing one's enemy. Old habit died hard. What she observed made no sense. Every morning, Daniel woke 2 hours before the artificial dawn cycle began. Veltira knew this because she was a light sleeper, and the soft sounds of his movement always reached her ears. At first, she assumed he was simply restless. But curiosity eventually drove her to investigate. She found him in the ship's training room. The space was designed for both Silarian and human exercise, with equipment suited to different body types and gravity preference. Daniel used none of the machines. Instead, he ran on a simple track that circled the room's edge. He ran for 30 minutes, without stopping. His breathing steady and controlled. His pace never changing. Then he moved to a section of open floor and began a series of movements that Veltira did not recognize. His body flowed from one position to another with a grace that surprised her. She had assumed humans were clumsy, limited by their soft bodies and single pair of eyes. Daniel moved like water. After an hour of these strange exercises, he approached a training dummy made of synthetic material designed to simulate flesh and bone. He struck it with his hands and feet, over and over, each impact landing with precise control. The dummy was rated to withstand blows from Silarian warriors. By the time Daniel finished, it was visibly damaged. Veltira retreated before he noticed her watching. She returned to her room and sat on her bed, trying to make sense of what she had seen. Humans were supposed to be weak. Every Silarian child learned this. Humans had no natural weapons. Their skin tore easily. Their bones broke with minimal force. They had survived and spread across the galaxy not through strength, but through technology and numbers. A single Silarian warrior was worse than human soldiers in hand-to-hand combat. So why did Daniel train his body with such intensity? Why did he strike that dummy with such precision? What was the purpose of practicing combat skills when human weapons made physical fighting obsolete? She began watching more carefully after that. Small details she had overlooked before now stood out like signal fires. The way Daniel entered a room. His eyes always moved first, scanning corners and doorways, identifying every exit and every potential threat, before he allowed his body to relax. Veltira recognized the behavior because Silarian warriors did the same thing. But Daniel was supposed to be a diplomat, not a warrior. The scar hidden beneath his clothing. She caught glimpses of them sometimes, when his sleeve rolled up or his collar shifted. Thin white lines on his forearms. A patch of rough tissue on the back of his neck. Old wounds that had healed but left their marks. Diploma did not collect scars like that. The respect other humans showed him. The soldiers and guards aboard the Horizon's edge treated Daniel with a deference that seemed wrong for his rank. He was listed as a low-level diplomatic attaché. Barely important enough to warrant a seat at formal dinner. But when he walked past human military personnel, they straightened their spines and lowered their eyes slightly. It was subtle, almost invisible. But Veltira had spent her life in the Imperial Corps, where power was measured in gestures and glances. She knew what she was seeing. These people feared him. No, that was not quite right. They respected him in the way soldiers respected a superior officer. But his rank did not justify that respect. Unless his rank was early, Veltira decided to find the truth. She contacted her intelligence network within the Silarian Empire and requested all available information on Daniel Carter. The response took 2 weeks to arrive through secure channels. When it came, it only deepened the mystery. His official file was thin and unremarkable. Born in a human city called Denver. Educated at Standard Institution. Joined the diplomatic corps at 25. Served on 3 minor postings before being assigned to the treaty delegation. Nothing special. Nothing notable. But there were gaps. Years that contained no records at all. Assignments that were mentioned but never detailed. And a single reference to something called special operations that led nowhere when she tried to investigate further. The Silarian intelligence officer who sent the file included a personal note. This man's records have been altered. What remains is a shell designed to look ordinary. We could not penetrate the classification walls protecting his true history. Be careful, princess. The humans sent you something other than what it appears to be. That night Veltira sat in the common area when Daniel returned from his evening duties. He looked tired but smiled when he saw her. He always smiled when he saw her, even though she never smiled back. "Good evening," he said. "Would you like some tea?" "I was going to make some for myself." She studied him with new eyes. This small, soft-looking man with his gentle voice and warm smiles. This creature who trained like a warrior but dressed like a clerk. This puzzle wrapped in human skin. "Yes," she said, surprising herself. "I would like some tea." Daniel's smile widened. It was such a simple thing. An offer of tea, an acceptance. But it was the first time she had said yes to anything he offered beyond what duty required. He made the tea carefully, measuring the leaves, heating the water to the precise temperature. He brought her a cup and sat across from her, leaving a respectful distance between them. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "You may ask. Do you miss home?" The question caught her off guard. No one had asked her that. Everyone assumed she was performing her duty without emotion, as a proper Silarian should. No one had considered that she might feel loss. Sometimes, she admitted, do you? Sometimes, he echoed. But I've learned that home isn't always a place. Sometimes, it's the people you're with. She did not know how to respond to that. So she simply drank her tea and sat with him in silence. But for the first time since their wedding, the silence was not cold. It was almost comfortable. She still did not understand what Daniel truly was. But she was beginning to suspect that when she finally learned the truth, it would change everything she thought she knew. The attack came on a night like any other. Veltira had finished her evening meal with Daniel and retired to her room to review diplomatic reports. As the public face of the peace treaty, she needed to understand every political development that might affect relations between their species. She had just begun reading when the lights flickered and died. Emergency lighting activated a moment later, casting everything in dim red. Veltira rose from her chair, all four eyes adjusting quickly to the change. Power failure on a ship like the Horizon's Edge were rare. The vessel had multiple backup systems designed to prevent exactly this situation. A soft shim came from her door. Then another. Then the door slid open without her permission, overridden by external command. 3 Silarian warriors stood in the hallway, their silver skin glowing faintly in the red emergency lights. They wore combat armor marked with symbols Veltira recognized immediately. The Broken Chain, a faction of extremists who had opposed the peace treaty from the beginning. They believed that Silarians should never make peace with lesser species. They believed the war should have continued until every human world was ash. The lead warrior stepped forward. His 4 eyes fixed on her with cold hatred. Princess Veltira, he said. Traitor to the Empire. You will come with us. You have no authority here, Veltira replied, keeping her voice steady despite the fear building in her chest. This ship is neutral territory. The Galactic Council will respond to any act of violence. The warrior laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. The Council is far away. And by the time they respond, this ship will be debris. And you will be facing judgment before the true leaders of our people. More warriors appeared in the hallway behind the first 3. Veltira counted quickly. 12, 24, more still coming. They carried plasma rifles and ceremonial blades, weapons designed to kill efficiently and painfully. Where is the human? The lead warrior demanded. Veltira's heart clenched. Daniel. These extremists hated humans more than they hated traitors. If they found him, they would not simply kill him. They would make his death a message, a statement about what happened to lesser species who dared to touch Silarian royalty. I do not know, she lied. The warrior struck her across the face. The blow sent her stumbling back, pain exploding through her jaw. Do not test me, traitor. Where is your human pet? Before she could respond, a commotion erupted further down the hallway. Shouts in Silarian. The sound of plasma fire. Then silence. The lead warrior gestured to 2 of his soldiers. Find out what that was. The 2 warriors moved down the corridor and disappeared around a corner. A moment later, there was a brief cry and then nothing. More warriors were sent. The same result. Sounds of struggle followed by silence. The remaining extremists grew nervous. They pulled Veltira out of her quarter and formed a defensive circle around her. Weapons raised and ready. The lead warrior kept one hand on her arm, his claws digging painfully into her flesh. Show yourself. He shouted into the darkness beyond the emergency lights. Whatever you are, show yourself. A figure stepped out of the shadows at the far end of the hallway. It was Daniel. He was wearing simple grey sleeping clothes, the kind humans wore for comfort at night. His feet were bare. His hands hung loose at his sides and his face was calm, almost peaceful. The warriors laughed. After the fear of the unknown, the reality seemed absurd. This was what had killed their brothers? This small, soft, unarmed human? This is the creature you sold yourself to, the lead warrior said to Veltira. This is what our princess married for peace. I almost feel sorry for you. Daniel's eyes moved slowly across the assembled warrior, counting them, measuring them. Then his gaze found Veltira. For a moment, his expression shifted. She saw something in those blue eyes that she had never seen before. Not fear. Not anger. Something colder. Something focused. Let her go, Daniel said. His voice was quiet but carried clearly through the silent hallway. The warriors laughed again. The lead warrior pressed his blade against Veltira's throat. Come any closer, human, and I will open her throat. Daniel did not move. He simply stood there, watching, that strange cold light still burning in his eyes. I will give you one chance, he said. Release her and surrender. You will be detained and returned to Silarian authorities for trial. No one else needs to die tonight. The lead warrior grinned, showing all his fangs. No one else. Human. You are surrounded by 50 of our finest warriors. You have no weapons. You have no armor. You are nothing but soft meat waiting to be carved. 53, Daniel said. What? There are 53 of you left. I counted. He paused. There were 84 when you boarded. I've been busy. Silence fell over the hallway. The warriors exchanged a glance. 84 of them had come aboard. And this single human claimed to have killed 31 without being seen or caught. Impossible. It had to be a bluff. A desperate lie from a desperate man. But Veltira looked at Daniel's face. At those cold blue eyes. At the complete absence of fear in his posture. And she remembered the gaps in his file. The redacted records. The way soldiers flinched when he walked past. The lead warrior must have sensed the uncertainty in his troops. He needed to act, to prove that humans were as weak as everyone believed. Kill him. He ordered. Now. 20 warriors raised their plasma rifle and fired. Daniel was not there. He moved so fast that Veltira's eyes could barely track him. One moment he was standing still. The next he was among the warriors, inside their firing lines, too close for their weapons to be effective. What happened next would haunt her dreams for the rest of her life. The lead warrior screamed at his troops to fall back. To regroup. But Daniel moved through them like a blade through water, every motion precise, every strike landing exactly where it would do the most damage. Veltira stood frozen, watching a single human tear through warriors who had trained their entire lives for combat. She watched and understood at last what humans really were. They were not weak. They were not soft. They were something the galaxy had never seen before, and they had been hiding in plain sight all along. The first warrior died before he understood what was happening. Daniel caught his rifle arm and twisted. The joint broke with a sound like dry wood snapping. The warrior screamed and fell. Daniel took the blade from his belt and kept moving. He did not pause. He did not hesitate. Every motion flowed into the next like water pouring downhill. Veltira watched with all four eyes. And still she could barely follow what was happening. Daniel ducked under a plasma blast that would have burned through his skull. He stepped inside the shooter's guard and drove his palm into the warrior's throat. The Silarian dropped, choking, and Daniel was already past him. 3 warriors rushed him from the left. Daniel pivoted, using the body of a falling enemy as a shield. Plasma bolts meant for him struck the corpse instead. He emerged from behind the smoking remains and closed the distance before they could fire again. The blade in his hand moved 3 times. 3 warriors fell, their armor useless against the strikes that found the gaps between protective plates. The Silarian commander screamed orders that no one followed. His troops were panicking, firing wildly, hitting each other as often as they hit nothing at all. They had trained for battle against human soldiers who fought in formation with weapons and tactics. They had no training for this. No preparation for a single enemy who moved like smoke and killed like a natural disaster. Daniel took a plasma rifle from a dying hand and fired twice without looking. 2 warriors on the far side of the hallway collapsed. He threw the rifle at a third, catching the soldier in the face and stunning him long enough for Daniel to cross the distance and end him with a single precise strike. Veltira counted the bodies falling. 10. 20. 30. Warriors who had trained since childhood in the art of combat. Warriors who had killed humans in the war and believed they knew what humans were capable of. They died thinking they understood their enemy. They died wrong. A massive Silarian, larger than the others, charged at Daniel with a ceremonial blade raised high. This warrior was almost twice Daniel's size, covered in scars from countless battles. He brought his blade down with enough force to split a human in half. Daniel stepped to the side. The blade missed by the width of a finger. Daniel's hand shot out and struck the warrior's elbow. The joint bent the wrong way. The massive Silarian roared in pain and swung his other arm in a desperate backhand. Daniel dropped low, let the arm pass over his head, and rose with an uppercut that somehow found the exact spot beneath the warrior's jaw where Silarian anatomy was weakest. The giant fell like a tree. Veltira realized she had stopped breathing. She forced herself to inhale, to keep watching, to understand what she was seeing. Daniel was not just fast. He was not just strong. He was efficient in a way that seemed almost inhuman. Every motion served a purpose. Every strike landed exactly where it would cause the most damage with the least effort. He never wasted energy on unnecessary movements. He never made a mistake. This was what humans had been hiding. This was why our intelligence contacts could not access his true records. This was why soldiers flinched when he walked past. Daniel Carter was not a diplomat. He was a weapon in human form. The remaining warriors finally broke. Those who could still run tried to flee, abandoning their mission, their honor, their fallen comrades. Some made it to the emergency exits before Daniel caught them. Most did not. One warrior, younger than the others, threw down his weapon and dropped to his knees. "Please," he begged. "Please, I surrender." He surrendered. Daniel stopped in front of him. His grey clothing was soaked dark with blood that was not his own. His breathing was heavier now, but controlled, steady. His blue eyes looked down at the kneeling warrior with an expression Veltira could not read. "How many civilians did your group kill when you boarded this ship?" Daniel asked quietly. The young warrior's face twisted with fear and guilt. He did not answer. But his silence was answer enough. Daniel's hand moved once. The warrior did not suffer. The lead commander was the last one standing. He had kept Veltira in front of him the entire time, using her as a shield, his blade pressed against her throat. His hand trembled. His four eyes were wide with a terror Veltira had never seen in a Silarian warrior before. "Stay back," he shouted at Daniel. "Stay back, or he kill her." Daniel stopped moving. He stood perfectly still, blood dripping from his hands. Surrounded by the broken bodies of nearly 300 warriors. His eyes fixed on the commander's blade at Veltira's throat. "You have two choices," Daniel said. His voice was calm, almost conversational. "You can drop that blade and let her go. You will be detained and handed over to the Galactic Council for trial. Or you can hurt her. And then I will show you things that will make everything you just witnessed seem gentle by comparison." The commander's blade pressed harder. A thin line of silver blood appeared on Veltira's neck. Daniel did not react. He simply waited, those cold blue eyes never blinking, never looking away. "You cannot reach me before I kill her," the commander said. "You are fast, human. But not that fast. Try me," Daniel said. Second passed. The commander's hand shook harder. Veltira could feel his heart pounding against her back, racing with fear. This warrior had led armies. He had killed hundreds in the war. And now he stood trembling like a child before a single unarmed human. The blade dropped from his hand. Daniel moved so quickly that Veltira did not see him cross the distance. One moment he was standing 10 meters away. The next he was behind the commander, one arm around the Silarian's throat, the other controlling his arms. Smart shoes, Daniel said. Ship security arrived de moment la Terre. Human and Silarian officers together, responding to the emergency alerts that had finally gotten through the attackers' signal jamming. They found their diplomatic attaché holding the last living extremist in a chokehold, surrounded by a field of corpses. The security team stared in silence. No one spoke. No one seemed to know what to say. Daniel released the commander into their custody. Then he turned to Veltira. His face changed. The cold deficiency faded. Concern replaced it. Warm and genuine. He looked at the cut on her throat. The bruise forming on her face where the commander had struck her. Are you hurt? He asked softly. Do you need medical attention? She should have answered. She should have said something. But all she could do was stare at him, this man who had just killed an army with his bare hands and now worried about a small cut on her neck. Who are you? She whispered. Daniel's expression flickered with something like sadness. I'm your husband, he said. And I promise to protect you. That's all that matters. But they both knew that was not enough. They both knew everything had changed, and they both knew that before this night was over, she would demand the truth. The medical bay was quiet in the hours after the attack. Human and Silarian doctors worked side by side, treating the wounded and documenting the dead. The final count would take days to compile. Nearly 300 extremists had boarded the horizon's edge. Only one had survived. Veltira sat on an examination table while a human medic cleaned the cut on her throat. The wound was shallow, already beginning to heal. Silarian biology was resilient that way. But the medic worked carefully, gently, as if treating royalty. Perhaps because she was royalty. Perhaps because of who her husband had proven himself to be. Daniel sat across the room, cleaned and changed into fresh clothing. The blood was gone, but Veltira could still see it in her mind. She could still see him moving through those warriors like death itself given human form. When the medic finished and left them alone, neither spoke for a long moment. The silence hung heavy between them. Filled with questions Veltira did not know how to ask. Finally, she found her voice. Tell me, she said. Tell me everything. Daniel leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He looked tired in a way that went deeper than physical exhaustion. Tired in his soul. My official file says, I'm a diplomatic attaché. He began. That's technically true. I was assigned to the diplomatic corps 3 years ago. But before that. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Before that, I was something else. What? A soldier. But not the kind you would recognize. Humans have a tradition of creating specialized warriors for impossible missions. Small groups trained to operate alone or in teams, behind enemy lines, against overwhelming odds. We call them Special Operations Force. I served in one of those groups for 15 years. Veltira remembered the gaps in his record. The redacted sections. The years that contained no information at all. What did you do, in those 15 years? Daniel Meyer, eyes. His gaze was steady, unflinching. He would not hide from this question. Whatever was necessary. I went places the regular military could not go. I did things that could never be acknowledged. I eliminated threats that could not be handled any other way. He paused. I was very good at it. How many? She asked quietly. How many have you killed? I stopped counting a long time ago. The answer should have horrified her. 3 months ago, it would have confirmed everything she believed about humans. Barbaric creatures who gloried in death. Savages who had somehow stumbled into space. But she had seen him spare the warrior who surrendered. She had seen him offer the extremists a chance to live before they forced his hand. She had seen the weariness in his eyes when he spoke of what he was. This was not a man who enjoyed killing. This was a man who had become very good at something terrible because circumstance demanded it. Why did they send you? She asked. To marry me. Why you? Daniel smiled sadly. Because the treaty was fragile. Because you were going to be a target, and they needed someone who could protect you against anything. He volunteered. You volunteered to marry a stranger? To leave everything you knew? He volunteered to protect the peace. Everything I did, everything I became, it was supposed to mean something. All those missions, all those lives I took, it was supposed to be building towards something better. When the treaty was signed, when the war finally ended, his voice cracked slightly. It felt like maybe it was all worth it. Maybe all that darkness had a purpose. Veltira stared at him. This complex creature she had dismissed as weak and unremarkable. This man who had chosen to become a monster so that others would not have to. This weapon who dreamed of peace. You killed 300 warriors tonight, she said. In less than an hour. With your bare hands. 296. 3 died before I reached them. The explosives they used to breach the hull killed them. She shook her head. How? How is that possible? Humans are supposed to be weak, Daniel finished. Soft, fragile. He smiled, but there was no humor in it. We cultivated that image deliberately. We let the galaxy believe we were survivors who got lucky with technology. We never showed what we could really do. Why? Because we knew what would happen if we did. Every species in the galaxy would unite against us out of fear. They would try to destroy us before we became a threat. He leaned back in his chair. But the truth is, humans have been predators since before we learned to make fire. We hunted everything on our world until we were the only dangerous thing left. And then we turned that hunting instinct toward ourselves, fought wars against each other for thousands of years, perfected the art of killing until it was part of our nature. Veltira thought about her own species. Silarians were warriors, yes, strong and fierce, but they had evolved from creatures that fought for territory and mates. Displays of dominance. Ritualized combat. They killed when necessary. But killing was not woven into their souls. The way Daniel described. When you evolved, your ancestors were hunters, she said slowly, working through the implications. Men were territorial fighters, different pressure. Different results. Exactly. Silarians evolved to dominate. Humans evolved to kill. Those seem similar, but they're not. Dominance can be satisfied by submission. The hunting instinct. He trailed off, shaking his head. It doesn't stop until the prey is dead. And your people hide this from the galaxy. We try to. We build our militaries around technology and tactics that don't reveal too much. We keep our special operations units classified. We let other species believe that our success comes from numbers and machines rather than from what we are. Veltira was quiet for a long time, processing everything she had learned. Her entire understandings of humans, of the balance of power in the galaxy, was shifting under her feet. Why tell me this? She asked finally. Why trust me with this secret? Daniel stood and walked to where she sat. He knelt in front of her so their eyes were level. His face was open, vulnerable in a way she had never seen from him before. Because you're my wife, he said simply. Not because that treaty made it so. But because I want you to know who I am. The real me. The darkness and the light. I want you to choose whether you can accept that. If you can't, I understand. I will still protect you. I will still honor our agreement. But, I hope. He paused, struggling with the words. I hope that maybe, someday, you could see me as more than a weapon. More than a political necessity. Veltira looked at him. This man who had revealed his deepest truth, because he wanted to be known. Not the diplomat. Not the killer. The person underneath both masks. She reached out and touched his face. His skin was warm under her silver fingers. He closed his eyes at the contact, leaning slightly into her palm. I watched you kill 300 of my people, she said quietly. And all I felt was grateful that you were there. That you were mine. His eyes opened. Hope flickered in those blue depths. Fragile and uncertain. Veltira. I do not know what we will become, She continued. I cannot promise love or forgiveness or anything beyond this moment. But I can promise to try. To see you. To understand you. To let you be more than what you were made to be. Daniel reached up and placed his hand over hers. Warm human skin against cool, Silurian silver. That's enough, he whispered. That's more than enough. That's more than enough. Outside the medical bay window, the stars continued their endless dance. The galaxy spun on, ignorant of what had happened on one small ship. Ignorant of the truth about humanity. Ignorant of the change beginning to grow between two souls who had been thrown together by politics but might yet build something real. Veltira did not know what the future held. But for the first time since her wedding day, she was not afraid to find out.